Hello, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to a bit of a different CSGO video here on the channel, but I hope you guys all enjoy a bit of a data-backed episode. I cannot wait to share all the results I found for all of you on the question we've all been trying to answer out there is how exactly the AUG and its price reduction has affected competitive CSGO, especially at the pro level. And what I found research-wise, spent several hours yesterday overviewing hundreds of CSGO maps and the results of the top pro teams out there, and I'll be sharing the information with all of you today as how the CT side has actually been affected by the AUG price reduction ever since the update on October 9th. So what I'm going to share with you guys is, yes, still a very small sample size. Each and every month I only looked at 100 maps randomly chosen of our top pro teams out there. So the data could be slightly skewed, but what I found as well, the final comparison I did do was I compared all of the months, including the month of the update, the months following the update, as well as I compared all of that to all of our major maps out there, because we saw the AUG quite prevalently at the major itself, and I thought it had a pretty big impact, and what I found was very astonishing. So let's first hop back to October 9th until November 9th, the first month of the update, and what I found, certainly, yes, a very small sample size, but what you guys see continually throughout this episode is how balanced the actual game of CSGO truly is in terms of CT sides to T side rounds. I did count every single round of the 100 maps I did cover for each and every month, and so as you guys can see there, during this month, it was relatively balanced, and again, throughout the entire video, besides our next month, October 9th to November 9th, that being the month following the update itself, it was more slightly CT sided. And this could be a very small skew in the data. Maybe I did choose more CT sided maps than T sided maps in the 100 maps that I did randomly choose. Besides that though, a very small marginal difference. We jumped forward between December and January, 2 months after the update, and once again the maps were back to being extremely balanced. Unlike what I thought after I saw that month after the update, I thought we were going to see a more progressively CT sided game as more teams and pro players adapted to the use of the AUG, but that just didn't happen. So then we fast forward to January through February, and again, now 3 months after the update, ever getting closer to the major, where we compare the major maps to these 3 previous months, and of the 4 months I showed you guys so far, 3 of them were actually slightly T-sided, showing us so far only 1 CT-sided month, that being the month after the update itself, and of the 4 months I chose, majority of them actually been T-sided maps. Now, all in all, this actually does not, prove too much besides the overall balance of the game, but I thought it was very cool to compare how evenly spread these CT and T-sided rounds were for those 4 entire months. So yes, the data might have been skewed month to month, but overall, all in all, we saw how balanced the game was after 4 months and 400 maps of professional level CSGO played, and that was pretty remarkable. But what we saw next at the major, so remember, I compared these last 4 months to all the major maps out there. Ironically enough, throughout the major itself, there were just over 100 maps, but I did cover exactly 100 to kind of try and go towards this data set, and here's what we found so far. It was absolutely astonishing. At the major itself, yes, a huge jump in the CT side of rounds. And as you guys can see, that jump was actually nearly 6% of an increase to the CT side, which in general, we think about this, right? And on average, a 20 to 30 round game, that's a 1 to 2 round difference from a single weapon, or so we suppose. Many teams here have now finally adapted, and now comes the questions as to why this happened, right? I showed you guys 4 months, 400 maps of evenly balanced CSGO. They were all so close, and percentage-wise, the biggest gap percentage was maybe 1 or 2%, and at the major we saw a 6% gap, 6 to 7% gap between CT-sided favored maps and T-sided rounds out there. And why this was, well, that's the question we don't exactly know, right? When I compared the top 50 level teams out there, when we compare it to the major, those are going to be your top 25 teams in the world. So maybe the best of the best teams out there at the major are the teams that fully adapt and actually take on the AUG. But even then, it really does not answer the full question. Maybe it was heavily skewed, right? We saw Astralis, of the few teams out there, very CT sided, as well as teams like Renegades. I mean, it was actually Astralis and Renegades on Inferno. They both got 12 CT rounds on their CT side. Astralis, they 16-0'd Cloud9. In doing so on Train, I believe they also scored 15 CT rounds. So it could be very skewed in terms of teams actually being very good on their CT side just randomly at the major, or it could be the fact that these teams finally adapted to the AUG and we saw the best of the best teams out there, the top level teams, truly take it on, and that's what's changing the CT rounds compared to the T rounds. And it's even crazier to think about how few rifle rounds there truly were to have this effect, right? A 6% effect on an average game, probably 1 to 2 more rounds on the CT side throughout the major is what we did see. And when you think about how such a small price reduction for before an AUG was and how big of an impact it has is pretty crazy if this does reign true. I'll continue to track this in the future months, but you think about that, you have 2 to 3 rounds on the start of both halves where you're not buying those full buys, maybe of course pistols and maybe semi buys. Along with that though, your full saves and ecos throughout the game itself, how much impact this does have with how few full rifle rounds there truly can be, it's pretty astonishing. So we're going to see what teams are affected by this in the future, and again I will continue to track this for all of you and see if the AUG has truly made a 6% difference on the game with a $300 price reduction. It'd be pretty incredible. But as always, I hope you guys all enjoy this very interesting video. If you guys want more data research videos, feel free to leave a like or a comment down below. But I'm also very curious what you guys think is the reason for this. Leave a comment down below. I'm very curious what you guys think about this and actually what caused this huge difference and influx of rounds out of nowhere, because you guys are often way smarter than I am. I would love to see your analysis down below in the comment section. But as always, I hope to see you guys back here sometime soon, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow. Some big CSGO news is coming. I thought I'd get this episode out there though, because as of right now, no big CSGO news has been confirmed. But until next time, as always, my name is Jake. Hope you guys all enjoy. Goodbye.